guys are awesome. Let's fuck them.
All right, so hi, I'm Keith McNally. This is my co-host, Picard 102. I call him John, although he doesn't care for that name. And our show highly encourages audience participation. So throw things, yell things, come literally hit us with things, push us over. It's all good. All right, so first a little bookkeeping from last week. First off, if your roommate Sarah ever happens to listen to these, I remembered, I was trying to tell a funny anecdote about something funny John said once, but I could only half remember, and it just made us sound like crazy misogynists. This isn't going to help that, it's just at least it makes sense now. Is what we were hanging out with Sarah, and we were all drinking and talking about stuff, whatever, and we were failing to identify with her problems because,
she's being irrational.
And she's just, different than us. Whole worldview's just different. We were failing to identify with Sarah's problems, and she said it's because you just don't understand how women are wired. And John just goes, it's because they're wired like baboons. And that was the actual saying. And that cracked me the fuck up.
It is pretty funny, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible thing to say.
But just to clear up.
Only a terrible person would say
it. We love women.
Yeah,
like clearly. Vaginas and tits, like A+.
I jerked off today. Craig didn't. Man's got a job, right?
How's that work all day, man?
Around the room. How many times today did you masturbate, John?
0, because I was staying with my mom at the hotel.
I don't accept that as an excuse, but
if I was staying with your mom, it would have been like 5 by now.
Yeah, seriously.
If I was staying with your mom, I wouldn't have to jerk up. Because I'd be having intercourse with her sexually. Oh, thanks for clearing that up. Like in her vagina. So, Keith.
Yeah, so last time I saw you was Nuit Blanche.
Worst party ever.
Ridiculous. So I'm still relatively new to Toronto. I didn't even know this was a thing until the day before it happened. My roommate mentioned it to me. She's like, you going to this Nuit Blanche thing? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I know those words, but I don't know what this is. I went to French school, so that it didn't help me in any way. And when she described it, it sounded really stupid and pointless. And it turns out it wasn't miscommunication on her part.
Yeah.
So we met here at the Imperial, and actually that was one of the better parts of the day. Is we showed up early and hung out with Garbro Dude a bit, and that was fun. Hung out, drank, and then
we walked over 11 kilometers.
Right, but it got fun around midnight. But for like the next 3 hours or so, it was just
walking and
just
seeing
shit.
nothing.
You were supposed to be meeting somebody with big tits. I thought that's what it was all about.
Oh yeah, we never did meet
no,
Miranda.
Live calls.
We couldn't find her.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's the problem.
It was super hard to find anyone there too. Like there's so many people, you can't like meet up with people.
But before then, all we had was the art.
Yeah.
And I hate art. I hate it.
Yeah.
It means nothing to me.
It sucks.
Like anytime I go to these galleries and stuff on Queen Street, I love the lifestyle. I wish I could be one of them. Like I wish I could have a gallery, and it's so cool how like especially down in the West End of Queen, they work on their stuff there and they sell stuff there. It just seems like awesome. I just have no talent for that. But anytime I look at the stuff, even the ones I like, I'm like, that would be great as an album cover. But by itself, it's not enough. It needs to be connected to something else. It just doesn't mean anything to me. So Nuit Blanche was a lot of that. Of just so we ended up in Trinity Bellwoods Park. This was my personal favorite, even though it was the dumbest one. Was the boat?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was
the chicks in a boat staring at each other.
Yeah.
Longing for their past memories or some bullshit explanation.
Ridiculous. It was just a boat, like a sailboat, and there were these two women sitting in it, and they had this kind of long artist statement about the nature of nostalgia and the blah, blah, blah. And they were literally just sitting in the boat, staring at each other, not talking. Even though we were mocking them. Openly. They did. I guess I'm impressed that they stuck with their stupid premise, but even if like it could have been funny. What if it was just an improv of like you're stuck in a boat with somebody and they could just make up stuff throughout the evening. Something at least entertaining. If it's going to be meaningless, it can at least be entertaining.
Well, I'd like to interrupt about Nuit Blanche. I didn't see a whole lot that I was pleased with, but in that area, at St. Trinity's Church, in the church, there was a lineup, and as you walked in, they were showing a black and white film. The Beatles, what do you call that movie? Not A Hard Day's Night, the first one.
Help?
Yeah, Hard Day's Night.
No,
Hard Day's Night.
Later.
First one, black and white. But they showed it in slow motion. So you walked in, that was a strange thing to see. But then the audience, or the four people, the musicians were sitting there with cellos and violins, playing in slow motion to it. It created this amazing feeling as you walked in. And you walk in and it was bizarre. Like you're in a church, but your mind is really getting fucked because the movie, George is just sort of slowly going into this closet, and then these guys are sitting there barely moving the music. But everybody in the audience was getting uptight, like they couldn't slow down to it. They were in a hurry. They got to see everything in Nuit Blanche. So everybody was sort of coming in there, trying to slow their minds down, but they couldn't. And I think that was the experiment, to show Toronto, hey, you're in too much of a hurry.
Well, I think that could tie into stuff too. Is like, to me, it was too spread out and too random.
It's hit and miss.
And clearly, I mean, I may be of a different generation because I rolled in here with a giant coffee, and then I got one of those coffee porters, the beer with the coffee in it. You know, I don't have time for this shit. I don't have time for half-speed Beatles. I got things to do. You know, I don't really, but I like to think that I do. I didn't wait. Oh, for a question from the crowd.
One thing you were talking about the one thing with the two women
In the boat,
and
sure.
had in the boat. I was in Europe in the summer at a few museums, and you go, let's say you go see a Van Gogh. The little thing beside it will say, here's the name of the painting, here's where it was painted, perhaps like a little bit of historical detail, and that's it. You go see some piece of modern art, and it's 3 or 4 fucking paragraphs how it deconstructs the mystery of time and space and all that bullshit. Good art doesn't need that bullshit.
Yeah, like dogs playing pokers. That's self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's still shit, but it's self-explanatory.
You want to hear one of my favorite?
In velvet painting.
One of my favorite fine art stories ever is about Tom Green. Tom Green doesn't get a lot of respect for being a particularly brilliant guy, but he kinda is. And this is an example of that. Before he was on MTV, when he was just a Canadian guy, he had this bit called Tiger Zebra, where he went into the National Museum of Art in Ottawa, whatever it's called, and he put up his own painting that was just an orange painting with a black stripe, and then he put up the artist statement, Tiger Zebra by Thomas Green, and it was there for like 2.5 weeks, and no one realized it wasn't supposed to be there. So then his follow-up was he went in with a tour group and started drawing on it, and everyone was freaking out because they thought he was ruining a $20,000 painting.
It's like Voices of Fire.
What's Voices of Fire?
You remember Voice of Fire? That was the one, I think, with basically a big piece of red canvas with 2 blue stripes on it. The government spent $3 million of our tax dollars to buy it.
Money well spent.
Absolutely.
This is the point where I'm gonna hop in.
So,
Absolutely.
Went to
Oh,
our school.
introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Joel. I'm from the Squid Pod. I'm gonna just sit down here.
Try to look
Yes.
natural.
Yeah.
Smile. There you go.
I went to art school. I have one of those useless BFA things.
Did you get laid?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well worth the money.
Barnett Newman, the painting that John was just talking about, that was kind of one of those things that we had to defend in one of our classes.
Just for fun or legitimately?
Probably legitimately. I'm sure it's just the instructors taking the piss out of us. But yeah, you had to defend why is a painting with 3 stripes art. Of course, I mean the research of it just comes down to one thing. They just really did a lot of stuff until they got bored and started putting stripes.
Right.
And so is it art? Well, it's made by an artist.
I guess maybe to kind of, rein it in a little. I guess I'm more of this school of thinking that it's Scott McCloud put this forth in his classic book, Understanding Comics, that anything that's not directly about survival or procreation is art, and even those two things can be art if you do them the right way. Why is fine art more fine than what Tom Green does? And that's where I just don't see it anymore. I don't care about people that think their dopey, boring shit is good or is better.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I'm so burnt out of art, but it's a craft, it's a skill. To me, it's about the same as an auto mechanic. Like that's fucking art. Nobody knows how to do that shit anymore. People do it. They should be paid well for it. Check out your next, mechanic show, I guess.
Nice, solved. We've solved art.
I want to jump.
Oh, okay.
I
No,
put the period on it. The thing I heard a while ago. It said, technique without inspiration is craftsmanship. Inspiration without technique is modern art.
Think about it. So here's one more story about why fine art is ridiculous, where I started to sort of realize how this stuff works. This girl I used to date in New York, we would go to these fancy pants fucking performances of interpretive dance and the blah 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 and the 2 people doing the stuff. And she would literally have tears in her eyes about how meaningful it was and how it spoke to her and reminded her about her adolescence and then. And it meant nothing. But then the more I got to know her, I would learn these crazy stories about her that when she was a teenager, her brain was all imbalanced to the point that she saw people that weren't there. She'd walk into a room and there'd be people there that she couldn't knew weren't there, but to her they were. And she just had to deal with her own weirdness.
I think it's called being crazy.
Yeah, or then on a lesser sense you get synesthesia, is that what it's called? When you hear
See
colors?
sounds or
Yeah,
hear
and see
sounds.
sounds, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, people do have this stuff. So to them, you know, some painting or some interpretive dance really is meaningful to them because they're crazy.
Back to Nuit Blanche.
Nuit Blanche,
We
yeah.
got on a tangent.
Okay.
Most of it sucked. I didn't really see anything I liked. But there was one thing that we missed that I wish we could have saw. There was apparently these two naked women standing in an alleyway that you had to squeeze between or something like that. That's art.
Yeah, wow. I would have seen that a few times.
Before we started, we said, oh, we should probably just read people's Twitters. And I was
Right.
going through your Twitter, and I saw you said one of your ex-girlfriends sent you a picture or something.
Yeah. This is my good ex-girlfriend who's
Oh,
a nice person.
Not the one you have sad feelings over?
From
Or?
back. Oh, I had no total sad feelings
Oh, sweet.
because
All right, let's talk about her.
because she was. It was like it's this girl I dated in Vancouver, and things were getting a little shaky and weren't really working out, and I broke up with her, and she met some other dude and got married, so clearly it worked out for her. But the problem is, I was always like, okay, like if I'm gonna get in another relationship, it's got to be a girl at least as cool as that girl, optimally cooler, and it never happened. It's been 5 years.
The one that got away, Keith.
Yeah, and it still wouldn't have worked, you know, but anyway, yeah, she, yeah, because that's when I moved back to New Brunswick, and I was a babysitter for like 8 months, and that was all, you know, in beginning of my spirit and what have you. And then New York, which was a horrible place, but an interesting experience. And she would have been stuck with me as opposed to some guy who actually married her, because Lord knows I would never do that. So clearly that's working out better. It would have been worse. But, you know, I got some regrets, sure.
I think you're saying life's a bitch.
Yeah, life is tricky.
So would you rather her just drop off the face of the earth and never have any sort of thing
No,
to
no,
do with
not
her?
at all.
Or
Actually,
be in
she's,
constant contact here.
She's going to be in town next month sometime. We're going to record
Oh
a
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, you were telling me about that.
It's because on my Facebook page, all the pictures of me are drawings, and she found an old drawing of me that she made.
What does the drawing look like?
It looks like a young me. It's like it was a portrait. A portrait of the young man. I'm making your portrait of the young man as a barista. Exactly. Actually, me and her, because she was a really good artist, we had this idea for a kid's book. The idea was going to
The
be
Adventure of Mr. Penis.
no, not the Adventure of Mr. Penis. What does Mr. Penis do on a day to day?
Well, you know, he goes to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
This is going nowhere.
You're dead weight, John. No, the idea was it was a girl whose pet died, like her cat died, and she was so sad that she rarely talked and never laughed anymore, and she was bottling up her laughter for so long, and it needed to escape that she started laughing out of her butt to an
That's
elementary
about as
school
horrible as my idea of Adventures of Mr. Penis.
kid. Yeah, it's not much better, but see, and then I don't know, I thought it was like funny because kids would like it, and it's, you know, about releasing your grief or whatever. But then that jerk off, did you hear about that dog, the kids book, Walter the farting dog? Isn't he from Fredericton or New Brunswick somewhere?
Yes, it's Becca's ex-boyfriend's father.
Wow, so it's the father of our friend Becca's ex-boyfriend, and it's Walter the farting dog. There's no message there. There's no clever laughing out of your butt. That's funny. A dog that farts a lot. That's lowbrow.
Why don't you guys join your ideas?
Walter the farting penis.
Farting.
Yeah, the penis that's so sad that.
Not only of his laughter, it has to fart through someone else's butt.
I think this is going off the track so fast.
Yeah, totally. So Nuit Blanche. What else do we have to talk about? Is that it?
Your sadness, nothing, I guess.
It's a topsy-turvy world. I'm glad that we definitively figured out art today, because we'll never figure out women.
Yeah,
Am I right?
baboons.
And now that is the fucking finale. Someone want to play us out? Who knows the song? And that's it for us. Yay!
Not nearly as offensive this time.